welcome back to my channel. My name is Dom, owner of Handmade by Nashay, and today we are doing a sewing tutorial. You guys are in for a treat. This is my very first sewing tutorial. We are sewing the Bellatrix wallet, and guys, I've made so many of these wallets so far because it is such a quick sew. It is so adorable. It is so customizable. As you see, each one of these wallets just has a different vibe because of how many options are in this pattern. I had the honor of testing the Bellatrix wallet from Notorious Alice, and she was so gracious to let me sew a tutorial for her. So I am honored to be able to test my first sewing pattern and to film my first sewing tutorial. So I just really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope you guys love it so much. If you guys like sewing, crochet, knitting, and just all sorts of crafting, be sure to hit subscribe down below, and we'll have a lot more of these videos like this in the future. So let's just hop right into the tutorial. Okay, everyone, so the first step we're going to do is sew on the applique. You can use double-sided tape if you like. I use these industrial strength glue sticks just because it's just a little easier, and I also use clips. But we're just going to base down this for an applique. If you're not doing an applique, that is also an option, and you can skip this part. I'm doing the applique that has like the little cutout that we're going to rivet down. So we're just going to put that in place, line everything up. Sometimes I have to trim down my zipper cutout when I'm done, but other than that, everything lines up pretty perfectly. So I'm just going to clip down the top because we're not sewing the top. We'll sew that later in the final construction. We're just going to be sewing down basically the side, the bottom, and then the other side. So we're just basically going around the bottom edge, basting it down, and we're not sewing the top. So do not sew the top edge. That'll be sewn on in the final construction. And remember, on these curves, hand cranking is your friend. Okay. Trim down all your loose threads. Like I said, I have the one that has the applique on the front. So it just goes here. And I'm actually going to sew mine down and then put rivets, but if you just want rivets, you can also do that. But I'm going to glue it down. It's just a little accent pop. And I'm sewing on a Brothers Strong and Tough, so this is a domestic friendly pattern. So that is our applique all put on. And like I said, I need to trim up my zipper pocket a little bit just because some of the underneath the main fabric is poking out. But it's not that big of a deal. Take your X-Acto knife and just trim off the excess. And then I also go, after I trim, in with my lighter and just kind of get in there to get all those, because you know sometimes vinyl has the fuzzies, just get all those fuzzies off. So that is the front. Now we're going to work on the zipper. I am using an all-purpose zipper in lieu of a number 3 zipper because I don't have any number 3 zippers, but it all works the same. I've made like 3 of these. This will be my 4th, and they all have all-purpose zippers, and it doesn't really make a difference. As long as you're not using a number 5 zipper, I think it's fine. So you're just going to take one of your zipper pocket linings. I'm using cotton for this. You're going to lay it right side up, lay the zipper right side up on top of it, and then you're going to sew the top edge. So I'm using a thicker needle sometimes. It doesn't like sewing through cotton, so, but it's not that big of a deal. All right, now you're going to take your zipper, open her up, take the other zipper pocket lining, lay it right side up, and then just line up those pockets. And then you're going to sew it right side together. And then you're going to sew that top edge. Remember the back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, so now you have your lining pieces on. Now we're going to grab that exterior panel one more time, and we're going to put the zipper on. This is a super quick sew, guys. It's not going to take us any time at all. I think this would be perfect to batch sew for markets. So I open up the panel to where basically the zipper's in the middle of the 2 panel pieces, and then I just lay, depending on what side you like your zipper to open. I like my zipper to open from left to right, so that's what I do. You can use double-sided tape here to help. And then I just trim my zipper down later once I am complete, since I'm using an all-purpose zipper. But if you're using a number 3 zipper, you'll trim it down initially to the size that the measurement that is listed in the pattern. But since I'm just using an all-purpose zipper, I just trim it down when I'm done because that's just easier for me than to be dealing with all these zipper pieces. So you'll just center it on okay, and then let me just move my zipper pull in there before I forget and close it up, and I now have a zipper pull. Can you tell I've done that before? So now you have your zipper in there, and then we're just going to sew around the box. Lots of corners and curves, so hand cranking is your friend. Let's cut these off. Anyone else's sewing room looks like a total mess by the time they're done sewing something. Okay, now we're just going to close up the zipper pocket. So I just gonna clip that closed. But when you're at the sewing machine feeding it through, you're going to lift up the side and just sew side. Sorry, you're going to sew the side, the bottom, and then flip this side over and sew the other side, and then we're going to trim it up. We're just to flip that exterior piece out the way, back stitch at the beginning and end, and then sew this bad boy close. I like to go over my back stitching a couple times at the beginning and end, just in case. Then I'm going to just take my rotary cutter and trim this bad boy up. Just get it out of your seams. Okay, now our exterior panel is done and it has this nice zipper pocket. Now we're going to go and move on to work on the card slots. So I'm going to start off with the card slot pocket that has the ID window. And for this, you'll need your pocket piece, a piece of clear vinyl, and your ID backing. I like to use an accent fabric for my backing. So yeah, just to give it a little pop of color, because essentially once it's together, the ID backing is going to be like this. So it's just a nice pop of color to add into your wallet. So first off, we are going to put the clear vinyl. I don't know if you can see this because it's clear, but you're going to get the clear vinyl and you're going to put it on the back of the cutout. And then we're just going to cut around sew around the ID window. I'm using the round ID window, but I also have a few wallets where I did the other cutout. So this one has the back cutout. This one we did yesterday has, you can't see it because I used the same color, but it has the square cutout. And then this one has the heart cutout. So that's why I said like use a different color, because if you can see the difference between these two, you can't really tell that there's an ID window on this one because I use the same backing fabric. And then on this one, you can kind of see a little more because there's a pop of color. So yeah. So we're just going to sew around the ID window to add on the clear vinyl. And like I said, lots of curves, so be sure to hand crank where needed. Go slow as well if you need to. Even though this is a quick pattern to sew, it's not a race, so if you need to go slow, you can. And sometimes this clear vinyl could be super sticky. So yeah. A trick if you're not very good yet at appliques or cutouts is to use the same color thread so you can barely see it. So now that we have the applique or the cutout all stitched together, now we're going to start working on the card slots. So this bottom card slot here, we're going to do some false stitching on it, and we're basically just going to go ahead and already sew this bottom line. Since we're not actually we're making it a card slot, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be with the backing instead of the traditional fabric. So we're just going to top stitch along the bottom. So now that we have that stitching there, now we're going to take our backing fabric and just, we wanted to cover that bottom completely. So I just top stitch, or I put some double-sided tape down on the bottom. And actually before we do that, I forgot, we need to add our snap. So before we put our backing fabric on, go ahead and grab your pattern piece to find where your snap goes. I just need to poke a hole through my clear vinyl since I already had it. Let's see, let's use white for this one since we're already using a lot of red and the lining's going to be black, just to give it a bit of a pop. I'm going to be installing the male end here, and I just have a handheld press to do this, and this press also comes with like a hole puncher die, so you don't have to use all these different tools. I just have the tools because I make a lot of bags, so I just have the hole punching tool and everything. But this came with the hole punching tool. You can put plastic snaps on with this. You can put metal snaps. It's really a great, you can also do rivets with this. This is also a handheld rivet press, so it's really nice. I have this one I use for my plastic snaps. To do my rivets, I do use my big boy here. But this is a great for a beginner who doesn't know if they like it and don't want to spend all that money on all the extra supplies. You can just use this. I'll link it in the description below. I got it off Amazon, and it was a whole kit, so I really think it's great for any beginner. But I just use this for my plastic snap. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the male end on my ID wallet. So we have that on there. And now we are going to add on. So I just put a piece at the bottom because we're not going to sew down the bottom. It's just going to get caught in the final construction. So I just like to tape it down just to make sure it doesn't move. But you just want to make sure you are covering the top of that bottom card slot, because then now we're going to top stitch along the top of that just to secure it in place. Okay, so now that backing fabric is secured in place, and it makes a cute little ID pocket. So now we're going to do the actual card slots, but let me actually, my battery's about to die, so I'm going to switch out my battery, and then we're going to do the card slots. Okay, so you should have two of your fabric for your card slots. We're going to be using the shorter of the two. If you need the measurements, like I said, again, it is in the pattern below. But we're going to be using the shorter of the two. So for card slots, you're going to have double-sided tape at the bottom of the card slot. You're going to lay your fabric down and then put it in place. You want to make sure basically the fabric, the card slot fabric, is overextending the cutout. So you want to make sure it's overextending the pattern piece. So now we're just going to stitch along the bottom of that top card slot cutout. And now to make it a working card slot, because right now you can't put any cards in it. So to make it a working card slot pocket, we are going to take the fabric and fold it downwards. I like to just pinch it, so just go ahead and pinch it like where your snap tab is, if you can feel where your snap tab is. I like to just pinch there, and then we're gonna fold upwards, and then just make sure it covers the top of that opening. So it should be like that. And now we're just gonna stitch along the top. So now you see why we did the false stitching on the first one, just so it's more cohesive. So there wasn't just a stitch on top of that bottom card slot, even though we weren't actually putting any material there. So now everything is just cohesive. And now you have a working card slot that you can put cards in, and you have a working ID window slot. And that little pop of color is just so great here. So if you really want it to stand out, be sure to use a pop of color for that accent, that ID window. Now we are going to take our other card slot cut out, and before we forget, we're going to go ahead and add the snap tab. My piece fell, so let me get that. I'm going to add the snap tab, and we're applying the female piece. So if you don't know how to apply one, this is the backing, and we're just going to put that right here on the back. Find your hole. And then this is the female piece. Kind of like real life anatomy, the male piece has like the little outie, and the female piece has the innie. And I keep dropping my pieces. Okay. And then you just kind of smush them in place to kind of snap it in place. And then you'll use your tab, and this rubbery end of it is what presses down the stump. So then you just squeeze, and we're in there. I always like to test it before I get too far, just in case I need to, they didn't take and I need to replace it. So I like doing that a couple times just to make sure they took. Okay, so now we're going to take the longer of the pieces. So it should be your remaining card fabric piece. Okay. And first of all, we are going to get our ruler. Of course, when I need my 1 inch by 6 inch ruler, I can never find it. So I'm having to use my big boy. But we're just going to measure 1/4 inch up from the bottom. And it should be right below where your snap tab is. And we're just going to make a line. You won't see this in the end. It's just a placement line to help you with your card slots. So now you should already have double-sided tape along the bottom of each of the card slots. If you haven't already, go ahead and do that. I do that as a part of my prep just to make it a little bit easier once I get to the sewing table. So we're going to take off the bottom tape. And just like we did on the previous card slot, you're going to lay the fabric to where it is going upwards of your card slot. And you just want to center it in the middle. And you want it to overextend your panel. So this is my card slot panel. This is my card slot fabric. And then we're just going to sew underneath the bottom, top stitch along the bottom of that bottom card slot. Trim your edges. I backstitch at the beginning and end of my card slots just to make it more secure, but I've also seen some seamstress do the pulling the bobbin threads through and tying them off. I just don't do that, but it does make it a cleaner look if you want to do that option. So now this is where that line comes in handy. So that 1/4 inch line that you drew at the bottom, you're going to take your fabric and lay it down and just put your finger where that 1/4 inch mark is, and we're going to accordion fold the fabric to make a card slot. So you're just going to set it at that 1/4 inch mark and then accordion fold it back upwards. So now we're just going to top stitch along the bottom of that second card slot now. In doing that, just closed up your first card slot. So now we're just going to repeat it all over again. But now, instead of going a 1/4 inch to that line down there, we're going to go about 3/8 of an inch from the bottom of that last card slot. So from your last fold, you're just going to go up 3/8 of an inch. I usually just eyeball it because we have plenty of fabric, guys. You don't have to be as precise. So I just usually eyeball this. And you're just going to flip it back upwards, accordion fold one more time, and now we have one more card slot to sew. And go ahead, and if you have double-sided tape, you can go ahead and take it off. I always forget that I have double-sided tape because I've just done this so many times that I don't need it. But go ahead and stick it in place with that double-sided tape. Just one more fold, guys, and then we're in the home stretch. We'll be putting the wallet together. I told you guys this was a super quick sew. So one more time, going up 3/8 of an inch, and like I said, we have a little bit of extra fabric. So now we're going to sew over the top of that last card slot. Go ahead and trim all your threads. Trim any of this extra fabric off. And now we have 2 card slots, but we're not done with the card slots yet. Now we're going to take both of our card slots and we are going to add our backing piece to it. I am using waterproof canvas just to make it a little bit more domestic friendly, but you don't have to do that. On these 2 wallets, these both are full vinyl wallets, meaning I use vinyl for every pattern piece. The lining, everything, use vinyl. So you don't have to use waterproof canvas. I am just using waterproof canvas because it's what I have, and I wanted to use it in lieu of vinyl to see how I liked it. But like I said, you can use total vinyl for everything if you wanted to. I have done it as well, and it went through perfectly on my domestic machine. Like I said, this is a very domestic friendly pattern. Even using 4 layers of vinyl, very domestic friendly. This is a strong and tough, so I did get it for my bag making just because it's a little tougher, it goes quicker, but even on my regular Project Runway, which is the one I used to make bags on, it still worked perfectly fine. But now we're going to take that lining piece, just lay it on the back side, and we're just going to sew only along the top edge. So we're only sewing the top edge of this. Again, just sewing the top edge because we're going to sew all the bottom in the final construction. And now our card slots are complete. Guys, we are in the home stretch now. If you have made it this far in the pattern, go get yourself a drink. Go get yourself a piece of chocolate, a cookie. You deserved it. We are in the home stretch of this bag. So moving back to our exterior panel, we're going to go ahead and add our back tag. So I just go 1 inch up from the bottom edge. So first I mark the center, of course. I just finger press it. I don't need it to stay there. I do use a small piece of double-sided tape just to keep it in place. And I get my back tags from an Etsy shop. I will leave their shop in the description below. It's where I get my bag tags and my tags I use for my crochet items. They are just the most lovely people, Laura and Randy. But here is my bag tag. It's just my logo. I go 1 inch from the bottom, just make sure it's centered. Because whenever the wallet's closed, it's going to be like this. So now I have my bag tag on the back, zipper pocket on the front. And I'm just going to go ahead and sew that in place. I suck at branding, so I always forget to put my bag tag on. So you guys are lucky. It's one of the rare times I didn't forget to put my bag tag on. I didn't have bag tags for a long time, so I never used them. So it just always slips my mind to put them on. Same with like I'm making clothes. I always forget to put my clothing tags on. And it's just something I need to get better at. But you guys are seeing firsthand that sometimes I do remember. And now that that is on, now we're at the fun part, putting it all together. So again, I'm using waterproof canvas for my lining. On the back side, I am just going to put a bunch of double-sided tape around the edges just to help keep everything in place. Again, you don't have to use so much double-sided tape. Some people's machine can't take so much double-sided tape, but a trick I learned from Okla Roots is just to keep some alcohol pads at your station, and it really helps with ungunking your needle. So let's just go ahead and take all that double-sided tape off. I just got this new lumbar pillow from Bellatrix, and it has saved my back at the sewing machine. I've been using it for a few weeks now, and I love it. I know Bellatrix usually just advertises their gaming pillow. I do have that as well that I use for crocheting and knitting. But their lumbar pillow is amazing, and it's so much cheaper than the other pillows. But yeah, I love it. I did get sent the crochet pillow, but I bought the lumbar pillow with my own moolah, and because I wanted to test it out, and it's something that I really needed for my, just not for sewing, but when I'm crafting in general. I have chronic back pain, so I just needed something. I've had like the Cushion Lab one before, and it just wasn't very comfortable. Like this one like fits my back. I'm not sure. I don't think y'all can see it, but it like perfectly curves my back, and I love it. I really love it. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. I also have a coupon code if y'all want to use it. You don't have to. Like I said, they did send me the crochet gaming pillow, so that's why I have a coupon code. But get the lumbar pillow for sewing. It'll change your life, I promise you. And it even has a nice like little phone pocket. It's so cute. I love it. But okay, back to the wallet. I just put the lining on, and then we're gonna take a big box clip Bellatrix. Got this from Amazon as well. Link it in my storefront. I'll just link everything. I don't have an Amazon storefront yet, but I'm going to make one with all of my favorite sewing and crafting supplies. So you guys be on the lookout for that, because I know a lot of people are new at sewing, and I'm a self-taught seamstress. So a lot of times I just get a lot of my stuff from Amazon. It's just a little easier, but yeah, now we're just gonna line everything up. And we're just gonna put this bad boy together. So line up all the edges. Just clip them in place. I don't really think it matters which side you put what on. It's just a personal preference. I think I've switched it up a few times. Sometimes I put my ID window up top with the zipper pocket. Sometimes I don't. Like I said, it's a personal preference. I think now 3 out of the 4 have the ID pocket with the zipper pocket, and it's just because there's no rhyme or reason. You just put the pockets on in whatever fashion you want to. I will not go over edge coating in this tutorial, but if you do want to go the extra mile, I would edge coat the edges. I did do it on this one so far, and it just gives it that extra professionalism, the extra pop. Told you, I forget to put my back tag on all the time. Not a single piece of branding on this wallet. Like I said, it's a rare occurrence, guys, that you saw me put that on. But the edge coating just gives it the extra pop. So if you want to seal your edges and gives it a little bit more professionalism, I would go ahead and edge coat. So now that we have everything clipped down, we are going to just sew everything up. So like I said, this is the wallet, and then it'll just close like this. And it is just a sweet, cute little wallet. And I don't know if you've noticed, but on these two, I did add wristlet straps. It is not in the pattern for wristlet straps, but I have a bunch of corset rings that I have. So that's just something that I added just to give it a little pop, because I love having little wallets with wristlet straps. I just think it's so cute. It's so dainty. It's perfect for traveling and anything like that. So if you do want to make a wristlet strap, it's very easy to do. Just grab a corset ring. You don't even need a little D-tab pattern piece, anything like that. I do sew with the exterior facing up, just because I want my top stitching on the top. I don't want my bobbin showing, because sometimes the bobbin's not pretty. So I do stitch from top, but it's just a personal preference of mine. You're just going to sew around the exterior now, and we're just going to catch everything. Slow and steady wins the race. that's a wrap, guys. We are now done with the Bellatrix wallet. Now the only thing left to do, usually I have to find myself doing, is just going in and let me get my cutting board. Where are you? There you are. I don't want to scratch up my new table. I just go in sometimes, and sometimes I just have to cut off just a little bit on the edges just to round it up a bit. Usually it's not too much. Just go in and just chew up the edges a little bit. But also edge coating fixes that, so if you are edge coating, all that will be gone away. I do go around the edge with my lighter, just like I said, to get rid of any of the little extra fuzzies from the vinyl. But yeah, that is the finished Bellatrix wallet. Isn't she so cute? And with the, I think the, I like the waterproof canvas, but I think I like it all vinyl more just because of the sturdiness. Just is just a little too lightweight for me. But all in all, they are all perfect. I love them. The ID window, the card slots. This is the perfect wallet for market prepping. The perfect wallet. And if you can tell, I love this wallet. Like, I have 4 now. I have 4 and I still have more cut out. This is just the perfect wallet. This wallet is so stinking cute. I love this one. This fabric is from Bad Stitches Fabrics, and I wanted to add the pop of yellow just to offset the blue, and I think this was perfect. This pink one, Lydia, this one's so cute. So I've done 3 of the 4 appliques, and I've done 4. I think I did all of the ID windows now. Rectangle, circle, heart, and yeah, I did all the ID windows. So we have the bat ID window, we have the heart, we have the traditional square, and the circle or oval. And like I said, this is a completely customizable wallet. You have 4 different ID cutouts you can choose from. You have 5 different applique templates, plus you can do it with no applique at the top to give it a completely different look. This is just the perfect wallet. This is the perfect quick sewing project. It is the great scrap buster. You can get rid of a lot of your scraps with this. You can mix and match the material. You can pretty much do anything with this wallet. I am so honored to have been able to test this wallet and to sew a tutorial for you guys. I love it. I love it so much. I want to thank you guys so much for watching my tutorial on the Bellatrix wallet. Like I was saying, I think this is the perfect wallet for markets. It's so cute. It is customizable. It is such a quick sew, as you saw in this tutorial. There's minimal pattern pieces. It's a great scrap buster. And I am just super honored to have been able to test for Notorious Alice. This pattern is just so stinking cute, and I love it. And I see many, many more of these in my future. I actually will be doing a wallet drop in my shop soon. And so, of course, these are going to be in it just because of how quick they are to cut out, to sew, and everything in between. I appreciate you guys so much for watching my very first sewing tutorial. And I hope that you would like to see more from me. If there are any tutorials you would like to see, go ahead and comment them down below, and I will be sure to make a video on them. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys so much, and I hope you really, really enjoyed this tutorial. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.